Most embarrassing shit I have ever done was fake a pregnancy, and I've talked about it before, but I did not emphasize just how bad and humiliating that entire situation was. When I was 14, I was seeing the 16-year-old, and he was very nonchalant to the point it was infuriating. He did not answer the phone, blah, blah, blah. He was just chill. And in my head, the reality was that me and him were together, and he owed me all of his undevoted time and loyalty. And that's not the reality at all. That was just what my head was telling me because I was insane. Point is, I could start feeling a drift between us, and I didn't understand why. Maybe it was because you were overbearing and fucking insane. I don't know. Best guess off the top of my head, of course. So I decided, let me just tell him I'm pregnant. This is a foolproof plan. This is 100% gonna work. I told him I was pregnant, and he's freaking out. I didn't understand why, because he's thinking his life is over because you're crazy enough to keep it. So I knew I wasn't pregnant, obviously. So I went and got a pregnancy test that I did not pay for. I absolutely stole it because I was broke at that time. I knew it was going to be negative, but I was really hoping for a positive, which is sick in the fucking head. I took a picture of the pregnancy test because there was a line there because it was negative. And I went on Facetune and I edited it. And when I say these lines were so close together, like they were up each other's ass. It looked like one fat ass line instead of two lines. I confidently sent this motherfucker a picture. And this went on for about a month or so, okay? I think within the first couple of days, he didn't know if I was lying or not, but like after that, he 100% knew I was lying, and he was just kind of keeping it going. Like a full 2-hour long discussion about what I was gonna do, and this motherfucker's like, abort it. I'm like, no, why would I do that? You fucking idiot. You idiot. Within the next month, I get a text at like 3 a.m. He's like, hey, can we talk? And I'm like, yeah, sure. And he's like, what do you think we are? And I'm like, more than friends, hopefully. I just said, well, we're just friends, duh. I was hoping like this is where he's gonna propose to me and confess his love to me and tell me just like how much he wants to be with me. No, it wasn't actually. He was like, we need to stop talking. I think at this point, he knew I was lying. I think he knew, and he never said it. He never specifically said, I know you're lying. Like, he never called me out for it because he was never mean. He was never an asshole. I think he knew I was suffering a little bit in the head. I think he was trying to spare me. I don't know, but he never directly called me out for it. So much so that I thought he full-heartedly still believed me, and I'm like, how could you cut me off? I'm pregnant. He ends up blocking my number, of course. So I start spam calling him off of no caller IDs and decline, not answering. One of the calls, a girl answered, which, by the way, is his girlfriend. She answered. She's like, stop fucking calling him. And I'm, like, trying to fight this girl. Like, I'm, like, ready to fight her over my man. Like, babe, stop. And because that wasn't bad enough, I texted his mother on Facebook within the next couple of days to tell her, your son got me pregnant, and I'm keeping this baby. So, apparently, she ended up finding my mom's Facebook or my mom's number. I don't know how. My mom comes into my room and she's like, hey, honey, we have to talk. Are you pregnant? I'm like, no. And she's like, well, like, there's like, you know, people are saying that you're pregnant. So are you pregnant? And I'm like, I don't even know how that rumor got started. I don't know who would say such things about me. I'm not pregnant at all. That's like not even the worst part, right? That's not even the worst part. So because I was suffering a lot mentally, I had run away from home for no reason. I just ran away because... So I went to my friend's house. My friend, who was friends with that boy who I was accusing of pregnancy, and he came over with his girlfriend, and then there was another friend there. So there's me, my friend, another random ass friend, the boy, and the girl. And this is probably like the worst part that's like actually making my heart race because I had to make it worse. Like, I had to make it fucking worse. We're like all there, whatever. He ends up going into the bathroom out in the hallway to, you know, urinate, whatever men do in the bathroom. I go out in the hall. I'm like, hey, we need to talk. And mind you, like, please keep in mind, like, the hall is like right outside of my friend's room so they can like all hear me. And I said, I'm still pregnant because it wasn't bad enough. You had to make it fucking worse. What were you thinking? Point is, very humiliating, very embarrassing. I definitely lost a lot of credibility after that. However, what I will say is I would never do something like that now. And that is what untreated mental health looks like, and that's not to excuse it. And if you're ever going to use your mental health as reasoning, please make sure that you have healed. Please make sure you have done the work, because if you haven't and you're not trying to get better and you're not better, or at least close to being better, it's just going to sound like an excuse. However, my mental health did in fact cause that, and I've put in a lot of work to stable out up in the old head.
I mean, I have to give her points for absolute unadulterated honesty, because saying this out loud to the internet takes a level of bravery I do not possess. But oh my god, the escalation here is insane. Faking a pregnancy at 14 because a 16-year-old boy is being nonchalant? Ugh, we have all been crazy teenagers. But editing the lines on a Facetune app so they are touching each other, that is a whole different level of unhinged. But you know what really gets me about this entire situation? It's not just the spam calling or telling his mom on Facebook, which, by the way, is diabolical. It's the fact that she chased him down the hallway at a friend's house just to double down on the lie. However, we really need to highlight how she ended this story. She didn't just tell it for laughs, she completely owned up to the fact that this is exactly what untreated mental illness looks like. When you are suffering internally and have zero emotional regulation skills, your brain will convince you that manipulating reality is the only way to feel safe or loved. It doesn't excuse the behavior, and she knows that, but taking accountability years later and putting in the work to heal, that is real growth. We love a self-aware queen. Speaking of unhealed mental health and toxic behavior, what happens when the person acting completely unhinged isn't a confused teenager, but the person who is supposed to be raising you?
My first Karen was my mama. And no, she wasn't a white woman. She was just light-skinned. But her name was Karen. And that means something. The first thing about being a Karen means never having to say you sorry. And my mother has never in her life apologized to anybody. One day she was in rare, absolutely rare form. I had done something to piss off Jesus. I don't know what. I can't remember. She took it upon herself to inflict the punishment, which was she went through every drawer, every closet, pulled every piece of clothing I owned out, put it into the middle of the floor, and my punishment was to fold it all back up and put it back in the closet. But in the midst of her doing this, in the midst of her grabbing all these clothes and shirts and jackets, everything, just throwing it in the floor, she passes out. Literally just pass out in the middle of the floor. So I'm like, God, whose side are you on? Because I feel like I just won. Get her Jesus is what it is. So as she's laid out in the doorway, I decide I'm just going to tiptoe over her and continue on with the rest of my day. Let her rest. Is how I felt. So I started stepping over her inanimate body, and all of a sudden she pops up. Okay, she just pops up. I was terrified. She grabbed me by the ankle, bit my ankle. I fall to the floor. She started kicking and screaming. So I'm running. I don't know what the hell is happening, because the last second you was passed out, now you popped up and you biting ankles? What that got to do with Jesus? So I run on the top floor, right, of the house. It's a little landing. It's running toward me. I back up. Because what would anybody do when somebody is running toward them? I back up. She falls down the stairs. She tumbles. It was slow and dramatic. She was fine. She made it hot. It was fine. But did she roll a little bit down the stairs? Yeah, she rolled a little bit down the stairs. And then she told everybody that I pushed her. I can't believe my own daughter would push me down the stairs in my own home. Angela Bassett, you need to relax. It was too much. It was too much. But she left me alone for the rest of the day. So I go in my room, did it as I was told, folded all the clothes, hung everything back up, minded my own business. But like I told you, Karens never have to say I'm sorry. So what does she do? She comes in the room and she says, you want to go to Big Boy? Big Boy is one of my favorite restaurants in the world, okay? Big Boy got burgers, fries, chicken, wings. It's a great place, okay? Most of the time, owned by Middle Eastern people. It was Detroit. Huge Middle Eastern population. Understand? That was the place where she went to apologize without apologizing. And I knew exactly what this was. So, of course, I say, yes. Yes, I would like to go to Big Boy. Thank you. We get in the car, we go to Big Boy. Get there, walk up. Welcome to Big Boy. We're a little short staffed today, but I'm going to get you guys some water, and I'm going to come back with the menus. It was a hot summer day, and I was in 10-year-old heaven, just sipping my drink. But after a moment, I noticed that my mother is way too damn quiet, and I look up and she's fuming. She's already fuming. Her little foot is just tapping on the floor, and she is not happy. She is not happy. She helped them before us. We were here first. So I look over to see who she's talking about, and I'm like, no, I think I saw them when we sat down. She's like, no, what did I say? Right, you are right. They were here after us, Mom. I am sorry. We look around, we see the waitress. She's bopping from table to table, taking orders, dropping water, dropping drinks. She looks up and up. She's like, sorry, just 1 minute. So after about 2-3 more minutes, the lady comes over. She's like, hello, I'm so sorry. As I let you know, short-staffed. Some waters. Can I get you anything else to drink? My mom says, no, we don't want anything else to drink. Okay, are you ready to order your food? No, we're leaving. Oh, okay. Is something wrong? I watched you go to every other table in here, and you didn't come to us, and we were here first. Why is that? The waitress says, ma'am, I had to help the other customers first. They were here first. So I was just kind of making my way around. But I'm here now. If you want to order, I would love to get you some food. No, we're leaving. You didn't help us. And I think you didn't help us because we're black. But this is America. Even as a 10-year-old, I know that this is going to a place that it does not need to go. I see my mama getting hot. I see the waitress getting hot. But my mother doesn't stop. To be in this country, you need to treat people with respect. Why is this happening? Why is this happening? Why is this happening? I'm 10. You know what, ma'am? I think it is time for you to go. You can go ahead and leave. Thank you. I left first. I was already leaving. So come on, Kimber. Now they know my name. Now my name in the middle of the shit. They don't know her. They don't know Karen, but they know Kimber. This is some bullshit. So I get up, my arms folded. I didn't even get to finish my ice cold delicious water. Get up, walk out the door. She's walking behind us. People are staring. Everyone's disgusted. I just want to get back to the car. And then the waitress says, walk faster. My mother turns around in slow motion to look back at this woman. Because how dare you talk to Karen that way? She says, why don't you go back to your country? Everybody is looking at us. I am red, beat red in the face, ashamed. I may be 10, but I know that this is fucked up. And now I'm pulling my mom. Mom, come on, let's go. Because people are rising from their seats. They are pissed. The chef is coming out the back. He got a spoon in his hand. I don't know what he gonna do with that spoon. We need to go. So we get to the car. She look at me. She's like, I can't believe that my own daughter did not defend me. You're supposed to have my back. Can't believe you just threw me to the wolves. I'm sorry, but weren't you just the one that told them to go back to their country? I think you're the wolf. I didn't say that. I was thinking it. I was 10 though. And I just said, but Mom, you told them to go back to your country and that's not okay. And she's like, okay, right. She put the car in drive, drove home in silence. And the one thing that I learned is that Karens can only be defeated by humiliation or death. And unfortunately, both happened to my mama. Yeah.
I am so sorry. I know this is actually deeply traumatic, but the visual of this woman faking passing out in a pile of clothes, popping back up to bite her daughter's ankle, and then slowly tumbling down the stairs like a dramatic soap opera actress is taking me out. It is so chaotic. But then we get to the big boy restaurant and the comedy completely drops. Listening to a 10-year-old girl having more emotional intelligence and situational awareness than her grown mother is just heartbreaking. When you are a kid in that situation, you are literally held hostage by your parents' lack of emotional regulation. The mother was fuming just because a severely understaffed waitress didn't serve them first, and then took it to the absolute worst, most racist place possible by telling her to go back to her country. Ugh. Imagine the sheer panic of being 10 years old, watching the chef come out with a spoon, and having to physically drag your mother away from a fight she started. The fact that this girl looked at her mom in the car and said, "I think you're the wolf," proves she survived her upbringing with her moral compass completely intact. Karen energy is a disease, and this daughter is the cure. So we know you can't choose your family. But what about the people we actively choose to let into our lives? Sometimes the toxicity creeps in so slowly, you don't even realize you're being cloned.
The burnt rice is out. Why don't we do a story time? I don't know if I was ready to do a story time about this topic because I know this girl who's watching, she might come for me. I've been wanting to do a story time about this, but she's low-key kind of crazy. And I was scared, but I'll give you guys a rough story of why I am not friends with a friend of 15 years. But part 1. For context, why I say 15 years, we were childhood friends, but she lives in the States, I lived in Korea. So we both grew up in different countries. Even though she was Korean, she's Korean American. She's more Americanized, and me, I'm just Korean. We didn't keep in touch because when we were younger, there was no Instagram, there was only Facebook, but we grew apart from each other. So I think it was 3-4 years ago. She found my Instagram and she reached out and she sent me a DM. She's like, we're gonna call her Patty. She reached out, she's saying, "Oh my god, hi, I'm visiting Korea, would you like to meet up?" And I was like, of course, you're my childhood friend. I've had so many good memories with you, of course, I would love to. She really enjoyed her time in Korea. We got to catch up and all that. And she suddenly decides that she wants to relocate to Korea and embrace her Korean roots. I'm like, wow, that's a big leap of faith, but if there's anything I can do to help, let me know. She was such a sweet, sweet girl in my memories. And when I met her, she still was the same bubbly, fun, happy character. So while she was preparing to come to Korea, she kept on telling me that, oh, she really wants to upgrade her appearance. She said that she wanted to get a few procedures done and lose some weight. So my personal opinion, if you are a grown adult and you're using your own money and you have thought the whole process through, I'm not against that. So I'm like, yeah, I mean, if you have thought it through, I just hope that this is not pressured to fit in absurd Korean beauty standards. And she was like, yeah, of course. So she had been flying from the States to Korea a few back and forth to get some work done. After 6 months, she said, can we meet up? I went to see her and she was a totally different person. She got everything you can possibly do to your face. She got her eyes like 3-4 times done, her nose twice. She shaved her whole face. She told me that she purposely did not go out in the sun to make her skin lighter. So I was like, oh my goodness. I was happy for her because she seemed like she gained a lot of confidence. Even though it was through procedures, like she worked really hard to get that sort of look. But this is where it kind of gets creepy. Always ask me what type of makeup I do and all that, and I love sharing what I use. I don't gatekeep. She always told me, oh, you inspired me to do this, you inspired me to do that. So I was like, oh, I'm so happy to share my blusher or what I do. And my hair was red at the time because I was going through something, but I have naturally wavy hair. This is like just my hair. And I see her one day, she permed and dyed her hair red. So like we had the exact same hairstyle. So I was like, oh, whoa. She tells me, oh, you inspired me to dye my hair red. I love the color on you. I'm like, okay, I'm flattered, thank you. Even my nails, always usually do one colored patterns. And she's the one who would always put like rhinestones, crazy patterns. But she's like, oh, you inspired me to do one colored nails. I love it now. I'm like, okay, great. That was okay. But then there were some incidents where it kind of itched me the wrong way. So I remember she wanted to go out. And I was like, okay, but I'm gonna go in really comfy clothes because I don't plan on being outside for a long time. So I remember I was in like a really boxy t-shirt. It wasn't a formal event. It was just like us going out. And she told me, and she was like, are you kidding me? Why are you wearing that t-shirt? I'm like, we're not gonna be out for long. I'm just gonna stay a few hours and then go home. She's like, oh my God, are you serious? Like, oh. And I was like, I'm sorry, I'll dress better next time. So I kind of felt bad. Why is she bashing me so hard? I come home. I'm not feeling quite, I'm like, what was that? But then the next week, she invites me to go out. So I go out in my nice clothes, and then I see her, and she's in the exact same t-shirt, just in a different color. I'm like, huh? You were bashing me a week before for wearing that. Why are you wearing that? She's like, yeah, you inspired me to wear comfy clothes. I was like, okay, whatever. And when I recall it, she would always ask me to come to her place, and she would check my outfit, and she would wear the exact same outfit. And then we would go out. But even to this point, it was okay. But what was not okay was one day she was like, can I take a picture of your eye? Specifically your eye. I'm like, why my eye? She's like, I just really love your eye shape. You inspired me to get this specific eye shape. I was like, what? And then, like, no joke, 2 weeks later, she got this double eyelid surgery. I was like, okay. It kind of started freaking me out. I didn't feel comfortable about it, right? Being inspired by somebody and just like trying to be somebody is different. And I told you guys that she lost a lot of weight and she was giving really mean girl after she achieved this certain look. She would bash people who were a bit chubby. She'd be like, oh my god, if I were that person, I would just starve myself. Or, oh yo, it's so accessible to lose weight in Korea. I don't understand why people are not taking advantage of it. I'm like, you're giving mean girl. And you were chubby before. You don't, and how you lost weight is not healthy at all. My weight fluctuates a lot. Sometimes I'm really chubby, sometimes I'm lean. And I was on the chubbier side when I was friends with her. I started feeling really insecure because she kept on saying these mean comments on a daily basis. It was starting to get into my head. I don't starve myself, but I felt like I had to skip a few meals because of her fat phobic comments. It was really getting to me. It really was. Whenever we went out, our hairstyles are the same, our clothes are the same. We somewhat look similar to each other. People were like, oh, I heard you were a twin. Is that your twin sister? I have a fraternal twin. We don't even look like each other. But people were asking me if I was twins with this girl. And whenever I was saying no, and I look over to her, I saw her smiling. Like, she was like, smile of satisfaction. And it was really getting into my head. Whenever she uploaded an Instagram story, I don't know if it was on purpose, but she would always choose the worst picture of me. Where did my friend go? Like, it felt like a whole different person. It was really toxic, and I knew I had to cut it off. So I asked her if we could, like, chat. I'm like, Patty, I love you, I love your personality, and I love your style. But I feel like our styles, like, since we've been spending so much time with each other, our styles have merged into, like, one thing. But I recall that you have just such a unique style, and I think that style works for you the best. And I sometimes feel like our separate entities are kind of losing its color. I try to word it in the nicest way possible, but I don't even know how I delivered, but I still wanted to be friends with her because I know deep down maybe that was stemmed out of insecurity, and my people-pleasing tendencies were really strong at the moment. After that talk, it was a bit awkward, but she was like, okay, I understand. And then we didn't talk for, I think, a month or two. We slowly faded apart. But there was this incident. I'm not going to go into details about this incident, but one of the main reasons why I'm not friends with this girl is apparently I kept on inspiring her to look a certain way or be a certain way. But I don't know, copying somebody, it could be like the highest form of, you know, saying I have good taste or something like that. But what really stressed me out was I felt like a really small person. Like, I wanted to be the bigger person, and I felt so petty for actually having to tell her to stop copying me, as if like I'm the first person to do anything like this. No, because people can dye their hair red, people can do their nails like this, people can wear a certain type of style, people can, you know what, get plastic surgery. I don't care, but I felt so petty to having to ask her to stop. But I don't know, it felt like an identity crisis. But I distanced myself from her. It actually kind of felt like a breakup because we were spending so much time together. But after that toxic friendship broke off, I felt so much peace inside of me. But has anybody like had a similar experience? Whenever I tell my friends this story, they're like, that's intense. But it kind of was.
Okay, this is straight out of a psychological thriller. A single white female situation in real life. Reconnecting with a childhood friend after 15 years sounds so wholesome at first, right? But the moment she started copying the hair color, the outfits, the specific one color nail patterns, that's not inspiration anymore. That is an identity crisis manifesting as a hostile takeover. And taking a picture of her specific eye shape to get matching double eyelid surgery? No, absolutely not. That crosses the line from flattering to genuinely terrifying. But here is the most toxic part. It's not just the physical copying, it's the fact that she used extreme plastic surgery and unhealthy weight loss to completely change her exterior, but her interior became rotten. Shaming people for being chubby when you used to struggle with the exact same thing is pure unfiltered projection. She was trying to shrink her friend to make herself feel bigger. And let me tell you, having to confront a friend for copying you does make you feel petty, but it is absolutely necessary for your own sanity. Cutting off a 15-year history is basically a divorce, but the peace she felt afterward, that tells you everything you need to know. Transition, it takes months, sometimes years, to recognize when someone close to you is projecting their insecurities, but sometimes a total stranger will just hand you their baggage right on the street.
So yesterday I asked a girl to take a photo of me and my fiance together because we're on vacation. We look cute, I got all ready, everything like that. She took the photos, handed the camera back to me, and then goes, "You look chubby." Like, what the fuck? Also, this was the photo, by the way. I think I look fucking fantastic. Like, I asked you to take a photo of me, not give comments on my body, you weirdo. So this is your reminder that your words matter and the things that you say to other people matter, because I'm a very, very confident person, but if I was a very insecure person, that could have ruined my day, that could have ruined my night, that would have made me the next day maybe not get the ice cream, even though I'm on fucking vacation. Like, you know what I mean? 99.9% of the time, the mean things that people say to you is just a projection of themselves. I really hope it was one of those moments for her where she said it out loud and then she's like, oh my God, why did I say that out loud? That was so weird. I should never say that out. And for everybody asking, what did I say back to her? What did Connor say back to her? We were too stunned to speak. It was one of those moments where we're like, I literally thought she said I looked cute at first, and then I was like, no, she fully said chubby. And like, if this is chubby, girl, that's sexy. Love you, bye.
I love her energy so much. If this is chubby girl, that's sexy. Period. Let's really break down the absolute audacity of this stranger though. You ask a random girl to take a cute vacation photo of you and your fiancé, she hands the camera back and gives unprompted negative commentary on your body? What is actually wrong with people? She hit the nail completely on the head. 99.9% of the time, when a stranger is mean to you for literally no reason, it has absolutely nothing to do with you. It is entirely their own internal monologue leaking out. That girl probably hates how she looks in photos, saw this beautiful, glowing, confident woman living her best life on vacation, and her immediate instinct was to try and dim that light. But our girl here is fully protected by her own self-worth. She didn't let it ruin her day. She didn't skip the vacation ice cream. She just recognized the weird behavior, clocked it as a them problem, and moved on. That is the exact energy we're bringing into this year. That level of competence is amazing on vacation, but it is an absolute necessity when you are running a business and dealing with people who refuse to respect your authority.
I'm the owner of a Chick-fil-A. My husband works for me as my facilities and maintenance man. He handles all things facilities, including calling the vendors. I needed the locks on my restaurant doors changed. He calls the locksmith. A couple days later, the locksmith shows up. He comes in looking for the owner. I come out of the kitchen. I said, "Hi, I'm Shalita. Are you here to change the locks?" He said, "Yes. But before I do, I need to get the okay from the owner." I said, "Here's the okay." He said, "No, ma'am. I need you to go get the owner so I can make sure it is okay with him for me to get started." I said, "I am the owner." He said, "The person I talked to on the phone was a man." I said, "That's amazing and irrelevant. Two things can be true." He said, "Well, I'm going to have to call and confirm." I said, "What, my LLC or my identity?" By this time, y'all, his finger is in my face as if to tell me to shh. He is on the phone with my husband. He said, "Hi, sir. I am here at your restaurant. I just want to confirm with you I can go ahead and get started." He said, "Sir, that's not my restaurant. That's my wife's restaurant. Her name is Shalita. Is she not there?" He hangs up in silence and in shock. He went from confident contractor to Windows 95 error screen. He said, "All right, ma'am, I can get the okay from you." I said, "You could, but you won't. I will pay someone else to accomplish that task today. The task I have for you is, remember moving forward. It is a lot cheaper to show respect than it is to lose out on a contract or an opportunity. It's been a pleasure to serve you. Women, remember, I don't care if you are a doctor, a nurse, an entrepreneur, a student, a soldier in the military, a teacher, a preacher, or just a woman trying to find her way. You are a boss. You were born a boss. You've already been chosen. Don't shrink yourself in a room that you helped build. God didn't stop at Adam for a reason. Remember that. Now I have to go and serve at my restaurant. Have a great day."
Shh. Did you hear that? That is the sound of a masterclass in establishing boundaries. I have literal chills. That's amazing and irrelevant. Two things can be true. Put that on a t-shirt right now. This contractor walked into her Chick-fil-A, looked right at the woman who signed the checks, and completely bypassed her because his brain literally could not compute that a woman was the owner, not just the wife of the owner. And then to put a finger in her face to shush her while calling her husband. The disrespect is blinding. But notice how she didn't yell. She didn't scream. She let his own phone call humble him into a Windows 95 error screen. And then she hit him with the ultimate consequence. You could get the okay from me, but you won't. I'm paying someone else. It is a lot cheaper to show respect than to lose a contract. She didn't just teach him a lesson about sexism. She taught him a lesson about capitalism. Don't shrink yourself in a room that you helped build. Absolutely flawless. Taking a step back and looking at all of these stories together, it is genuinely fascinating to see the common thread pulling them all into the same messy human tapestry. Whether it is a 14-year-old girl desperately editing a pregnancy test, or a grown woman copying her best friend's eye shape, or a locksmith refusing to speak to a female CEO, what we are fundamentally watching is a crisis of insecurity and projection. We just witnessed a spectrum of people trying to manipulate their reality because they are deeply uncomfortable with who they actually are. Think back to the woman who was called chubby on her vacation. She intuitively understood something that takes most people years of therapy to grasp. Other people's words are rarely about you. When that stranger handed the camera back and insulted her body, it wasn't an observation, it was a confession. It was a confession of her own self-hatred. Now, stress that exact same psychological concept to the copycat best friend in Korea. That friend wasn't just inspired, she was operating from such a profound deficit of self-love that she believed stealing someone else's literal face and style was the only way to have value. And when she finally achieved that look, she immediately turned around and weaponized her fatphobia against the very person she was copying. It is the tragic cycle of unhealed people needing someone else to feel small so they can finally feel tall. But this brings us to a much larger macro-level issue in our society today. We're living in an era where the public square, whether it's a big boy restaurant in Detroit or the comment section on the internet, has become a dumping ground for unresolved emotional trauma. Remember the Karen mother tumbling down the stairs and then launching a racist tirade at a stressed out waitress? That wasn't just a bad day. That was a lifetime of never being told no, of never having to say I'm sorry, culminating in a moment where she felt entitled to destroy a stranger's dignity just because she had to wait 3 extra minutes for water. We see this everywhere now. The collective emotional baseline is so fractured that people are using service workers, friends, and literal children as their emotional punching bags. The mother demanded respect simply for existing in America, yet offered absolutely none to the woman serving her. Which forces us to ask a really uncomfortable counter question. Why do we endure it? Why do we give so much grace to toxic behavior? The girl with the copycat friend tolerated months of creepy boundary-crossing behavior, even letting it affect her own eating habits because she wanted to be the bigger person. We are socially conditioned, especially women, to smooth things over. We are taught to be polite, to keep the peace, to understand that the other person is just going through something. But at what cost? When does our empathy become self-sabotage? If the girl who faked her pregnancy hadn't eventually hit a wall where people stopped believing her lies, she might never have realized she needed professional help. Sometimes holding up a mirror and handing out a consequence is the most loving thing you can do, both for them and for yourself. And that is exactly the core lesson we have to take away from the Chick-fil-A owner. She is the ultimate antidote to everything we've talked about today. When that locksmith put his finger in her face, she didn't search for a reason to excuse his sexism. She didn't shrink her presence to make his fragile ego feel more comfortable. She delivered a swift, unshakable boundary. Don't shrink yourself in a room that you helped build. That quote is everything. Whether you are dealing with a manipulative partner, a toxic parent who refuses to apologize, a friend who drains your identity, or a stranger who tries to shame you, your response must be rooted in the absolute certainty of your own worth. You do not owe anyone your peace just to make their insecurities quieter. So, I want to turn this over to you guys. Which of these situations made your blood boil the most? Have you ever had a friend slowly try to turn into you, or had to parent your own toxic parent in public? Drop your stories in the comments because I know we all have at least one. Make sure you hit subscribe, protect your peace, and I will see you in the next one.